Hello, friends. So, I figured I would do a very short video on just do syntax. I did go over it at the end of Monads. However, I don't think I fully elaborated on it or, explained it to the point that it was very obvious for how to use it. And so this is just very, very, very short. And yeah, there's really not much to say at all. To get into it, the theory with do syntax is that do syntax really replaces or is equivalent or equal to these two functions and this function. So these two functions from the monad type class, if you recall, actually we have it loaded right there, but I'll just pull that back up. So these are, two of the main functions. We also have return, and I suppose return is also worth mentioning here. But do syntax is, you could almost think of it as like monad nice syntax. And I'm not even sure if this was in the original Haskell 98 language. I think it's new with the Haskell 2010 language, because you don't actually strictly need it. It's just to make coding a little bit clearer, I suppose. And so yeah, we went over this example of main where we did get line and then did a bunch of put string lines. So for now I'm just going to get rid of those. And so the key point to illustrate is just this line. This is the only thing that I think is really worth conceptually diving into. And so if we look at the type of get line, you can see it's an IO string. So I can actually run this statement, this line here, in my REPL. And if I say x is the result of get line, it's going to get the line. And if I ask what the type of x is, it's not going to say IO string, but it's just going to say string. And so this is effectively, unwrapping that string that was contained in the IO wrapper. And so that's the significance of this backwards arrow, is it is pulling the wrapped type out of its context or out of its wrapper. And then that allows me to use it in put string line, which, as you might recall, the type of put string line is such that it takes a string as an argument and does an IO action. And so, that's really it. That's all there really is to say about do syntax. And it's really nice. I can obviously, like you would have seen before, I could use x as many times as I want. It is now openly declared. Or on the other hand, I don't actually, it's not like I have to, pull out x from get line. I could also just do this, which is the most efficient way of doing things, but I could also do this, and that would be equivalent, and that is valid. And what's valid in terms of any of this sort of line of indent is anything that is an IO of the type IO. So if I had x here, or f, I'm just going to call it f for the sake of, familiarity. This must be of the type IO. Even if x, let's say f takes an argument, then f would not fit the type of IO here. F takes one argument, it would become IO. For example, put string line is not of the type IO something, IOA. Oh, and sorry, I shouldn't have said IO unit. I should have said IOA. I'm just going to put it to myself. And but by applying put string line, by giving it a string, we make it of the type IOA. Right, this fits IOA, where A is the unit. And so now let's say I have another thing here, action 1. I would know, so this would then be for sure true that it's any type IOA. Same with if I had, action G, action H, action I, action J. All of these are going to be of the type IOA. And then this one, this being the last part of IO, is going to be, I know it's going to be the IO unit. And the reason I know it's going to be is because my main type is IO unit. And so this function of main, which is using do syntax, is its type is going to come from the last IO action. So let's say this was IO int, then this would be IO int. But in this case, since we have IO unit, it is, of course, IO unit. And, the last thing that there's really to say is that, let's say I did do something like this. I extracted the unit from extracted the unit from the IO wrapper from action 1. Then this would not be valid, because there's a rule that the last statement in a do block has to be, or what's the actual there? Let me bring this up. Yes, must be an expression. So in this case, I am running an expression, but I am pulling a variable from that. So this is just not valid in terms of do syntax. But that's the rules of do syntax, and that's all there is to say. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed.